Good morning. It is Friday morning. This is what I got to yesterday, is doing all of this, framing this pressure treated PT stuff called lumber into the shower. So it gets a back and a top. Here's one of the resident kitties. Hi, Kitty. And just haven't hooked up the hot water yet, but here's the shower situation in here. And what I'm doing right now is that hole that was there, instead of getting more lath, I decided to just fill it with rocks. So I stacked rocks there, and hopefully, it's very fragile, but hopefully I can get some mortar on it without it falling. So the first thing I'm doing today is just making a small batch of mortar to get a little bit on those rocks to keep them in place. And then later on I'll do a bigger batch of mortar and then get some coverage on the rest of this lath and this lath up here. I have some really bad news, which I made another video about. I don't know if I'm going to post it or not because I was a little bit emotional and upset, but it looks like Pishna, Kit Kat, the kitty, who's always around me when I'm working and in many of the videos, it looks like she got killed and eaten, most likely by a bobcat, but possibly by a fox or fisher cat or something, on Wednesday morning, most likely. But she hasn't been back since, and so she would never, she has no place else to be but with me and Apollo, so she was taken away from us. So that's super sad. And didn't get much done yesterday, but getting back to it today. Oh yeah, this window is also new since the last video, so just integrating this in to get a little bit extra light in this bathroom area. So a little batch of mortar for these rocks here. So just a little bit of mortar on it, as long as it doesn't fall. Those rocks will all stay in place, and then I can finish up that wall section without needing to use more lath, and get to the rest of the mortar in the afternoon, or it's another batch either in the afternoon or tomorrow. And now I'm going to get to this siding, which I was planning to get to at some point last week, but other things came up. So the more coal lumber. I use so much coal lumber. Coal lumber is like just a great material to use because you're not adding to the product that's getting extracted from the environment. It's lumber that would otherwise be trash. So you're making use of basically trash, though you do have to pay for it, but it's 30% of the price of the new. So to be able to use it in so many different projects saves up to 70% of the cost of the material. So I've got a number more of the siding. I think I have enough to finish the front. I don't know how much I'll have left over for the other side, but I'm gonna finish that up today. By lunchtime on Friday, the siding up there is all complete, and I think I'm actually gonna apply the rest of the siding material that I have over here and basically just get as much coverage as I can, though I don't expect it to cover all of it, but I'll do that after I eat. So after using every last little scrap of that coal kind of finished lumber, I just about was able to finish that side, just around the window, but I just couldn't get the far right side. And so that material is all used up, feels really good. And that's it for today. And then tomorrow I'll get to the next coat of mortar on that shower and that rock wall held, so it can accept a good bit more mortar tomorrow. Saturday morning. And another loss. Verona got taken in the night. I heard something last night, like a yelling, screaming for help. Dove out of my window, came over here, and I was confused. I thought some of the other chickens might have roosted in the trees, and then I was looking up in the trees. I didn't think of Verona. But what had happened is that yesterday it was really hot and sunny, and I left the door like that. It wasn't latch closed. So some critter came up, opened the door, like probably a raccoon or something, and then might have smelled her food. But anyways, then went for her, and then took her away. So you can see some of the feathers here and there, and a little clump there. And then so when I came out, I heard it, and it sounded like it went through this side gate and then down over the tire wall and then to the right. So I'm going to go down to the road down there and see if I can find any more evidence of her. Because there was one time a similar thing happened with another chicken, Mimi. Actually, it was named Flopsy at the time. And I've tracked down the predator all the way to the road, like 50 yards that way or something, at the bottom of the hill where I found the chicken barely alive. But it seems like this time, even though I scared the predator off, it managed to hold on to her. Anyways, I'm going to go look for her. So I tracked down, it looks like the critter came right underneath the car here to eat her. There's some fleshy parts. And then over here, this is like a wing. So it looks like it went and just ate her right here, right in front of the gate tower, underneath the car that was here overnight. So I guess I'm just going to take the last scraps of Verona and place them a bit further away. Verona was my oldest girl. In a way, it's somewhat of a mercy because she was getting really old. She had one good eye and one good foot, and life was hard for her. But I'm sure there was still some moments of fright right before her death, but obviously otherwise it was pretty quick. I still feel bad I didn't come out here and save her. I thought the critter went out and over the wall and down the hill, and also didn't recognize that it was Verona or that she was missing. Otherwise I might have. But that's it for Verona. She's a great girl. And lots of surviving offspring. And though she stopped laying eggs for quite a while, maybe even like over a year or two, she started again once the chicks were with her, and so she had kind of a rebirth, rejuvenation in her old years, and was in good spirits and everything before she went, and happy about that. But once again, the oldest girl, the female, is gone. And now Sammy, I believe, is the oldest girl. The oldest girl now living is born here. The other girls all were not born here. So it's just chicken females remaining, all of which were our native-born chickens. The same chicken who brought me out to the flowers to show you those last week, a girl named Kodiak. Today she brought me to find the carcass of Verona. So of what wasn't eaten, I thought that a lot of it had been eaten, but it's probably maybe more likely a raccoon or something. But anyways, I did eat a good bit of her, but less than half. This is the rock that I left Peach out on after Peach had fallen and unfortunately died from an accident. There's no sign of Peach here, so it's a good offering rock, far enough away from all the livestock and kind of closest to where all of the wildlife would be. So Verona, the remains of her body, offered up to them. A great chicken. She's got lots of surviving lineage, and I've got lots of great memories with her, and she ended strong. It is Sunday afternoon, just finished with a supply trip. Lots of chicken food, some Portland, and a good bit of lath to start with the next project, which is the wall to connect the Admiral here, which is basically what I call this whole connected stone structure from the gate tower over there all the way over to this new G loft. It's like the garage loft area, and then the lower room, which yesterday I got that mortar on in here, so filling up the graps for the mortar, and just a couple more steps basically in here, maybe another more, or there's just a little bit actually of coverage on there, so I need to do a good bit more in that little corner. But all of that is pretty good for runoff. And then got a good bit of mortar done over here and getting the back side of the area where I can. So there's just a little bit more to do in here. And other than that, this lower space is going to be all finished up basically. And then I can pivot and move on to the next project, which is going up here to the side where I had done some tire work while the counter was drying. So over here in this trench. So basically all of this stonework here, from that roof and those crenellations and all of that sort of stuff, is the Admiral. And then over there is the Citadel. the stone structure, which isn't connected to anything. So the goal here is along this tire wall, along the side, to make a wall. And I'll go down there. So I've already got some kind of laying some rebar out. This is an interesting old chassis thing for a trailer that I'm going to use as a window. So that'll go in the wall. And so you can kind of see how there's rebar in places. And the goal here is to make a wall along this whole tire wall that will eventually connect over to the Citadel and then connect over to the Admiral to make it one united thing. When you connect a Citadel and an Admiral, what happens? You will see when it happens. But this is what I'm most excited about, so this is what I'll be working on next. And that's what I got all the lath for, because I've got a bunch of rebar already, so the wall will be primarily rebar and lath, and then the mortar to constitute it, or to be supported by the rebar and the lath. So I'm going to figure out how to get a start. It's kind of difficult to find the starting point, and that's probably going to involve like stapling lath onto tires and setting this window and porcupining, adding nails to the tires around where the rebar is, so that I can get a batch of mortar done today and to get a start on this project. That's my goal today. So it's a really sketchy start. I basically just stapled some lath to the tires, and it's not straight. It kind of like bends to the tires. And I got like a little bit of rebar up there in different places. But essentially, it's good enough for me to get a start. And it's all about starting. So here's the start. I'm going to do some mortar. I'm going to get something on it. And then tomorrow, we'll see where we go from there. So while it doesn't look like much, that is a start. One small batch of mortar. You can see over here the wall's like leaning in. The wall's leaning in different areas. And it's all just kind of rather sketchy to start. But oftentimes with anything, it is the first step of something that's the most difficult. And while I don't necessarily know how to do what I'm trying to do, of building this whole wall, I do know the next step of trying to figure it out. So I'm going to make it up as I go. And over here there will eventually be an arch. But that's the first step. I'll have to level that window out. That's the first step of getting the lath and the rebar up there. Most of it's just held in with staples. It's not even really nailed or screwed, porcupined at all. But it's a starting point. So tomorrow I'll add more. That's it for today. All right there. I am So I'm also doing the wall over here. So here's right by the Citadel chicken house. And so I've gotten lath up to here integrated with at least one line of rebar all the way around to here. Look at the plums on this tree. Just everywhere. Packed. So I got it to here. You can see over here, so we're now on the inside of the courtyard, compared to the last shot of this section was from the other side. So I'm also planning on leveling that window out today. And then this lath ends here. So I basically just need to connect from there to over there. And then I've got like a rudimentary one line of lath that is within reach of the Citadel. And then over there is getting relatively close to the Admiral. By the way, the structure over there is called the Admiral because of the 1950s refrigerator door that is mounted by the door, which was the Admiral refrigerator. But because it still has the nameplate, it's a nameplate for the whole structure now that they're combined. So it's got its name from an old refrigerator door. Hey Dino, how are you? Dino's doing good. Snow, how are you? Snow? Snow's alright. Wisdom, how are you, Wisdom? Chilling. Arthur, Intrepid, Art, and the chickies are over there, Fudge. Alright, that's all for now. Oh yeah, well, anyways, yeah, that's all for now. So I filled this last gap. It's rather messy in this transition, and then ends up getting like too high there, which is what it is. But essentially I've that connects the pieces of lath except for where the window is. So it's 10 pieces of lath altogether from the corner over there to the corner over here. And so now I'm going to set this window and then do some prep on this whole section over here, which I already added some mortar. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to cut some areas of lath and then add screws. I'll probably make a little video of that once I'm on to doing that after I level the window. Good morning, it is Tuesday morning. Here's how this whole thing turned out after just the one batch of mortar yesterday. And about to do another batch today. There was a good bit of rain yesterday afternoon. There's supposed to be more rain this afternoon, but I should have enough time to get one batch in. So there it's kind of funky. It's like all at an angle there because that's like the dirt on the tire. And then there it was pretty straight, so I went pretty tall with the mortar there. And then, so I'm going to do some prep with some forms. So it basically just has like, it's just connected at least a little bit to basically every tire. And then here, like, it's actually kind of solid there. So here I was able to just reach down and get like a hand on either side of it to smear it up like that. And I should be able to fill a lot of the holes in this place, in this section here. And then that section there will be the first one where it'll really start building up, because the lath just naturally stood straight there. I didn't really get much of anything here in this really funky section. The idea is that even though the lath on the bottom is like wavy and not straight, that it'll like straighten as it goes up, and then with the help of adding the rebar and stuff. So here's where it's kind of like at its worst as far as really not straight and then bendy and all sorts of stuff. I don't know if you can really tell that well with the phone camera, but just, yeah, a little bit all the way around here. I was able to get this thing squared or leveled or whatever, and all I could mortar was the underneath of it, but the underneath got like mortared and supported with screws going into the tires to support that. So today my goal is to send lath over this window, which I might use a piece of remesh for. I have one piece of remesh. I was going to use it for the tunnel over there, but it might be really helpful to go over this window here. So I got to do a bit of prep before I really get into the mortar. And here it got a little bit taller. And then just kind of like, you know, just connecting the lath here with the tires, starting to porcupine them in on the other side, and then connecting them to the rebar lines on top. The tricky thing is to get it all sort of vertical, which at first it doesn't look very vertical, but a lot of this can move. Like even that one, like that's leaning out, but that can it's still flexible enough at this point to be pulled in. But one of the trickiest parts is building this without a form. So I'm actually going to get the few kind of panels that I have up here, and then I'll staple some areas, and wherever I can get a form, it'll progress a lot faster. But this is the goal today. I'm excited about it and gonna get to it. Here's what this side looks like, where this what we're looking at right now. We've got 2 coats, or the last one was the second coat. So it's got pretty consistent sort of coverage on the top course of tires connecting into the lath. And then here's how this thing looks. That got leveled. I just used this rock here, so it kind of sticks out a bit, but that's fine. And then over here, which somebody got a second coat also. But now I'm to prep to put as many kind of forms up as I can to straighten out the lath as much as I can. Maybe add rebar in places, but probably do about an hour and a half of prep or so before coming in with the next batch of mortar. So it's Tuesday morning, and I've applied all the forms that I have available, which is basically all of these old insulation panels. So everywhere where there's something up against the lath, it provides a flat surface that I can then put the mortar up against, which helps me keep it straight and progress a little bit faster. So if it all goes well, after this next batch of mortar, there will be a decent wall section from there and then to here. Problem is, as I'm building this up, if it's not supported, it could also just fall over. So that's something to be aware of. It needs to actually be supportive, which I need to be thinking about, especially on that side, because wherever there's bends in the wall, that's what really supports it. The rebar will keep it all like aligned with itself, but if it's all just like one straight wall and there's no support, the whole wall will just flop over. But if it's bended around and it's kind of anchored to the tires, then it can end up getting pretty strong on a somewhat sketchy foundation. And then it ends up being light relative to the strength, the ferro cement. So it's kind of so unique how it's built, and then its properties once it's built, and then to apply those to a tire foundation where for most of these the top course of tires aren't even pounded, it's just loose dirt. So it's just kind of like erecting a steel infused stone through alchemy and then balancing it in the process of erecting it so that when it's all together it ends up being super solid. So it's a really fun kind of creative process. But that's enough for the prep for today. And now I'm gonna go mix some mortar before the rain comes. So with another batch, got some of the forms mostly covered. And unfortunately there's some rain that's threatening right now. Unforecasted rain attack wave coming, unfortunately. So I'm hoping it doesn't wash my beautiful mortar job away. Good. There ended up being quite a bit of rain, but it seems like most of the mortar that I did held up pretty well. The main thing I've been dealing with is keeping the chickens from eating this darn styrofoam. The chickies are just relentless. So you can't actually see too much from this side because most of the forms are in this side, so the mortar is being added on the other side. But I guess this is the last video for this week. Kind of a transition week from focusing on that room to focusing on the wall, as well as a week of loss, losing Kit Kat Pishna, that beautiful girl who's in so many of the videos and who's so talkative. And then also Verona, the old chicken who is also in so many of the recent videos. But the young chicks are doing well, and Apollo and I are doing well. But otherwise I guess everything's okay. Just missing the girls. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.